We are pleased and privileged to have some members of the Camera Club of Negros to be with us to learn something about their experience. Later on, Mr. Tonet Abong will be introducing the members, but allow me to mention that the talk this afternoon are very important. It can enrich our interest in photography. So let's try to listen carefully to the talk. It will be discussed by Mr. Dennis Reyes at the back on composition and our alumni, Mr. Hans Kura, on the use of Photoshop. And on behalf of the USLS-IS administration, we will thank you for coming the integrated. Okay, I'll introduce you, Mr.
Thank you and good afternoon. Before we have the talk, let me tell you a brief history about the Camera Club of Negros. Okay, the Camera Club of Negros was founded by the group of photography hobbies in 1981. They were Tony Corral, Elenita Montelibano, Mr. Billy Lupue, the back there, and attorney Alex Merano. Then we have also the joint later on Ms. Boy and Ben Diasis of before the print on, and now Art Dassen. We have Mr. Nicky Ledesma, Rolando Tan, Toto Tarosa of the Snapshot, and the late June Saturnino with Douglas Geopol. Came in later as a member is Ote Montelibano, the mayor of Salle now, who followed suit and joined from the defunct club of Negros Camera Club, which is a different camera club. The club is the pre-departure area of Bacolod Airport. That's its official venue to showcase their photos, festival, and activities in Negros and Bacolod, as well as personal collections were exhibited. With the transfer of Bacolod Airport, a new area of the photos has been designated near the check-in counter of the new Bacolod Salle Airport. The Camera Club of Negros, now in its 17th year since its founding in 1981, continues to grow with 23 active members at present. With the popularity of digital photography, a new breed of artists has come to showcase their expertise on photo editing by Photoshop, aperture, and iPhoto. Club activities include monthly photo shoots and quarterly photo takeovers. President of this club is Nicky Ledesma, with me as the Vice President, and with Billy Lopue, Bob Lacson, and Elenita Corral as officers. We are open to membership of all photo hobbyists and enthusiasts. For inquiries, you can always contact us at ccnegros@yahoo.com. Okay. We have this National Photo Week due to about 17 years ago, the Professional Photographers of the Philippines, the PPAP, worked for the institutionalizing and recognition of the photography's role in the development of the Philippines. This initiative was acknowledged with January 21 to 31, designated as the National Photography Week by then President Marcos. PPAP, the second oldest aggregation of photographers in the Philippines, spearheaded commemorative activities since then. This celebration fused the various photography-oriented organization to sustain the fervor of the National Photo Week. After a decade, the National Photography Week was never heard of again until Ugat Lahi and friends mounted a commemorative photo exhibit in 2008. For 2008, Hidal Gomez, Association of Store Owners and Concerned Photographers, the group that was organized to save Hidalgo and Gomez in Quiapo, Manila, from losing its legacy as a photography hub of the Philippines to street vendors, decided to reorganize National Photography Week by promoting its celebration. That's why we have the Photography Week here in Bacolod, because they called us if we can start the Photography Week just to start out the awareness of photography all over the Philippines. Hidal Gomez believes that it is time to bring photography awareness, appreciation, and technology updates and transfers outside of Manila where it is needed most. The theme photography moves will support provincial initiatives by providing additional exhibit materials if needed, by integrating club activities in the general PR and promotion initiatives. They might want to incorporate their programs and several other activities being worked out on these days. So that's why we have this photography week. This was started in Manila. We were just requested by the professional photographers of the Philippines to can start it out. Hopefully by next year we can bring in more people who can share with you their expertise in photography. For now, we'll have Mr. Reyes talk about composition. Okay, thank you.
First, let me tell you that photography has two important aspects. One is exposure, and the other one is composition. As we all know, due to the advent of digital photography and auto exposure everything camera, you're going to see that exposure can be controlled by your camera. You're going to see aperture priority. Are you familiar with the settings or the command dial of your camera? You have sometimes you can see there you have the sports mode, portrait mode, wherein the camera will adjust the exposure by itself. You can, anytime you can adjust the exposure depending on the capability of your camera. Most of the advanced cameras that we have, like the SLR or the digital SLR, you can adjust everything by using the command dial. But there is one aspect in photography. Okay, there is one aspect in photography where your camera can be able to decide by itself. This is composition. It's where you place your subject in your viewfinder or in your screen. Before we talk about composition, okay, there are several key elements of design. One is line, shape, form, texture, pattern, and color. Okay, on this picture, you're going to see lines which can give drama to your picture or to your image. Okay, you can see the horizontal line or the diagonal line. One aspect is shape, which can also give emphasis on the patterns or in the composition of your image. You're going to see the rectangular shape. Now we have the form. The form is just like a shape, but it's a three-dimensional aspect of the shape. So if you got the form in your picture or image, you're going to see a three-dimensional aspect of the picture. Now texture. Usually you're going to see, especially in black and white, you can see lots of pictures, like in your magazines, pictures of all people. You're going to see the texture in the face of the person. So it's very important to emphasize sometimes the texture in your image. Okay, pattern. Here you're going to see, in this example, you're going to see different patterns on the image. Okay, the footprints in the sands. It's an example of your pattern. Okay, color, self-explanatory. Okay. Sometimes in digital photography, we tend to over-exaggerate the colors or over-saturate the color in Adobe Photoshop, which Hans is going to explain later. But it depends on the image. If you got some part of your image, like let's say you got a portrait in your image, always make sure that you don't over-saturate the color. Okay, another aspect of color is monochromatic or black and white. Instead of using different colors, we have different use of gray, from white to black. Okay, now let's go to composition. Now we have the different, I've divided the discussion about the composition of different parts. We have the filling the frame, the golden section, and the rule of thirds, diagonals, frame within a frame, horizontal versus vertical, working on your subject, and breaking the rules. Okay, when taking a picture, sometimes we forget that there are lots of things that mess around with the picture, because our tendency is when we look at the subject through your viewfinder, the tendency of the brain is to remove everything on the image and left what you want to concentrate on the image. Like let's say when you're talking to a person in a crowded room where lots of people are talking, you can still understand that person because you're concentrating on that person. Same thing when you take a picture. Sometimes we forget that when we look at the viewfinder, there are lots of scattered, what we call these scattered subjects, which is not included on the main subject that you want to take the image of. So make sure sometimes, most of the time, to get nearer to your picture or to your subject. And because of the advent of Photoshop also, you can always crop the image to remove those unnecessary objects in your picture. Okay, so we want to always fill the frame. Okay, most of the time we include everything, like the whole head and the whole body, but sometimes when you tend to go closer to your picture or to your image, it gives more a dramatic image or picture than taking a picture of the whole subject. Now, most of you already know the rule of thirds, right? Does everybody remember the club? Okay. Now the golden section it was from the Greek philosophy where we have the part or the image as a rectangular form, meaning we have the wider end, the shorter end of the image. Now the rule of thirds is we usually, or it is advised for every artist, or for not only for photographers, but also for artists or painters, to make an imaginary lines in your picture. Like you divide the image into three horizontal lines, or three horizontal divisions, vertically and horizontally. Okay? So you can always point your subject anywhere on the intersection of those lines or on any part of those three horizontal and three vertical divisions. So like this one, we have the sky on the 2/3 of our image, and the horizon is on the 1/3 of the image. You don't always put your image in the center, because it's always the case that when we take picture, we always put our subject on the center of the image, and it's something that makes your image blunt. You always tend to look at the center, but if you have the subject on the side, or like you put the subject here, your eyes tend to go around the picture and not look at just the subject, but also the background and the foreground of the image. Okay, another aspect is diagonals. Okay, we always take picture where we have the line straight, it's either horizontal or vertical, but sometimes it's also advisable to take pictures where you put the lines diagonally. So in order to give you the three-dimensional aspect of the image or of the picture. And sometimes also we tend to, or we usually, especially if the image is too dull, you tend to adjust your camera diagonally and take picture diagonally. Okay, frame within a frame. When you say framing or taking the making a composition, we call it framing. But if you saw some image where you also have a frame within your picture, it gives your picture a more dramatic aspect or three-dimensional, again, three-dimensional aspect. Like here we have here, I framed the image or the subject within this frame. This is actually a cemetery. Okay, this is a puddle of water. So we frame the image on the ground. Okay, horizontal versus vertical. When you take pictures, especially now due to the advent of digital photography, you don't waste any film. So try to take pictures horizontally and vertically. Okay, because it might give you more better image when you shoot your image vertically than horizontally. It depends on the subject. Now the colors, you're going to see the colors is quite different. It's not Photoshop, but it's by using a because you mentioned Photoshop. It's by using a blue-yellow filter. Okay. In advertising, wedding, okay, you work on your picture. Because like for landscape or in any other photography, we have the subject already. So you just take your camera and take the picture. But especially in advertising, you work on the subject. You make your own background. It's like you're a sculptor. A sculptor, I mean. So you adjust everything. You adjust your subject, the lighting, the background. Okay. Now these rules that I have explained to you are just suggestions. Now everybody can make their own way of their own way of composing your image or your picture. So like here, as I have said before, you fill the frame with the subject, but here, as you can see, the subject is quite small. But it gives emphasis or drama to the picture. Okay, and it gives you an idea that the building is that huge and that door is that huge because of your subject. Okay, the rule of thirds now again not being followed. Okay. What I can advise to you is actually just don't stop taking pictures. I mean, we sometimes have our camera with us and we sometimes just take 2 or 3 pictures of the subject. Always take more than 5 or 10 pictures if you can. That way, you're going to explore more on the subject. So these rules and like techniques in photography is actually guidelines only. So it's still up to you it's still up to you on how you compose your image. But as I have said, we have the guidelines like rule of thirds, colors, and everything. But if you have all the aspects in your image, you're going to be a good photographer. And sometimes breaking the rules make a difference. Like we have one advertising photographer in Manila that he usually, just like in photography, there is a FAD. Like before, there was a FAD in black and white, and what he did is he shoot color. And like they have a FAD in different lighting effects, and that time he used black and white. So you make your own signature in your picture. Any questions before we proceed to Photoshop? Okay, let me give Hans to explain to you Photoshop.
Give Hans.
Yan, please move closer.
Sa raw pala, no? Kung di ako sa raw, ang file mo sina, kung hindi ka mo sa, kung mag-digital ka mo wala, ang file mo sina, pinasave yan sa 12 bit. No? Ang data mo wala, dahil sa JPEG, is
Sign
CCI.
something. Student kasi he knows everything about Photoshop.
kasi kung may alasin yung gusto mo pakulak na sa pula sa iyo.
Sa magazine na hindi na siya make-up lang. Maski mga advertisement touch points. Ang mga ginobra nila. I-duplicate mo ng layer. Control J. Or Command J. Control J na sa Windows. Duplicate mo layer. Ari layers mo na din i-duplicate mo para kung magsala ka. Pwede mo
Ang original.
mo, i-duplicate mo layer before mo mag-edit. Again, yun yung kita mo, pag i-flat para maliwat mo sa loob. Next, kanto mo sa filter, i-blur nyo, brush and blur.
Question tamaan.
Blur nyo ng guyaya. Depende sa picture ko na. Next, butangan nyo na sa layer na mask. Mask nyo na.
Layer.
I-mask yung layer. Amo ni siya, i-mask nyo ng layer. Gusto ni, why ni siya katandog sa picture. Amo ni magwa. Hindi, tanan nyo na Photoshop, i-mask na. Ang screen 7, aray naman siya. I-mask nyo na. So, pintahan nyo siya dito. Pintahan nyo ng mask nyo. Ito.
Kuha ka sa pra. Yak ka pa.
So, i-paint nyo lang ang gusto nyo. I-get ng brush. Brush nyo dahil kinano ng soft edges. Ano mag-change ang size ng brush.
Bracket.
Brush nyo lang, i-change nyo naman din ang paint ng diri. Ang inyong ginusar sa brush white. So, ano nila. Pwede pa na. Pwede pa na. Para gusto ng bino. Okay ba? Ano yung kung total mass mo lang siya? Benta. Kaya gusto ko nagsalahan din.
Skin tone, pilit mo galing mga pati.
Ilan mo naman black color. Hindi mo ka-brush. Kuna mo ni, hindi nagipagtan doon mga eyebrows, ang mata at lips, hindi nagipagtan doon. Hindi siya magpadulan sa pero galing, kung tanawin nyo, doon ka porcelain, nasa tsura yan. Hindi pa na, utangan nyo doon tayo ng noise, add noise mo sa filter. Madugang na siya noise para tsura doon skin tone sa add noise ko mo. Para sa skin tone sa tsura. And then, subuhan nyo lang opacity. Opacity. Para meron sagutan, harang mo rin. Matamata nila nasa atong skin man Japon na madulang. Actually, rough ko lang yung pang-mura. Next, ang imunta, kung gusto ni isla ng mata color. Tama Japon, hindi. Actually, ang ginawbra ko is select ang electrical merging tool. Ano yan eh, select yan eh. So, duplicate na naliwat. Pamatalang na, hanggang select na lang ang duplicate niya. So, i-adjust nyo, kung gawa mo ginas ang yung saturation, yung ginalain yung color. So, muna na. Pero okay pa na, hindi pa na. Kimera, pala po. Ano yung color?
Blue na to. Blue. Alien. Pusha!
So, ang saturation, ang muna na control, ang zero, black and white, green. Anyway. I-adjust naman ang saturation nyo, ngayon di ba taman ka-fake sa ginatura. Wala. Tututuan na natututuan. Ang next, ikita nyo may lapaw sa babaw. I-erase ko lang. Soft brush na Japon. Erase ko lang babaw. Kasi na mas. I-ano nyo na lang. I-blur nyo siya. Tayo lang dito. Ang Majapon, Majapon. Ah? Nice. Ang imuha niya lang. Muna, na-erase itong bako. Tangan niyo maling sa side. Gusto nang erase yung mga flatter na yung imuha. Gusto nang nari ko lang nari doon. Ang burn ka-dodge. Ang burn kinaka-turn. So, nang dodge kinaka-sana. So, butangan niya nito, never to i-burn din nito sa side. Para mag-gusto ng para mag-intong din sa isang lahat. Para may size. Pero hindi naman papatama. Buwan nila yung exposure. Ari no, respect lang yung mga namilis mata. Next, gayon. Ari subong mong draw niya siya. Pero same na po. Hindi ko sa ang next, convert into black and white. Ari no.
Takpan ako.
Aring na convert ko kay Bay. Mag-convert na sa black and white, hindi na siya, hindi na mag-desaturate, yung magtulad na details. Mag-convert na mo to black and white. Usually, ginobran ng tao ka sa image, mode, grayscale, ang next na di ba ginobra kahit sa saturation, desaturate lang natin sa ang pinaka-top so para makuha yung range, get some black and white. Ari, kanto ka mo diliwan. Kanto ka mo dahil sa gradient map. Is lang yung para mas deep ang colors. Compared sa ano nila, ari, desaturate sila. Ano sa ganyan. Doon din sa color, yung black and white. So the best thing in model is tapos yung black and white. Matter mo na, mas adjust mo dahil
Let's play white ones with white sana.
hindi talaga yung
At least no makita malupi.
usually para so nang ano
Kaya rin hindi na mag-series.
magano pag iba yung gusto nila ba sanato gusto nila ba sanato sa mata like inan para ito ba glass sa mata na all ang serving na white nabalaw na nga gusto nila nga pa sanato na mata so sa rin yun ang line area left is the tool ang nasa ni white yan ano siya sa siya so ikataw mo din sa blending mode overlay alam sa nice na like so the areas yun ang mga nilang yung mga linya kung gusto nyo pag yan kasanagan or gano'n nila sumukad yung mga maraming layer para magpapagod ang fake na diba pero iba gusto nila makita reflection nila daw kita mo daw yun sa ako
Person
Makita ko lang na
iba niya na yung break up ba
hindi maging ko sa Photoshop, maging basic lang ito dosin niya. More to sa mga question niya. Kaya, sa flash, speed light, meron na slow ang exposure mo lang sa second. Kulong detect ang flash ka muna kasi sige so what to ganito na mong flash po ako nang ko pag-detect try pag-guide hindi, kaya naman na siya.
Pasihan ko gabihan sa ako binabuka mo sa mula ko.
Ano na yan? I-capture ang sunset. Muna ng movie. Ari at si pero hindi ka kita-kita ang toma kasi hindi ka kita-kita so dapat ito
isa ka tao na
Ari, ina-delay niya ang flash. Ang buwan sinapler, pero kung one kung pitek ang flash ng subject niya pa. Slow siya, pitek ang flash. Ang power niya lang. John. Ang picture, pumunta ako dala libo. Palagas.
Just ang camera. Pag-click so. Hindi rin ang camera tayo. Ang camera.
Aring HDR.
Oh. Ano yan?
I-confirm mo sa program niya sa Photoshop niya. Isa lang din
Gampang mabuli-buli.
Layo na siya po dun
So, more last questions. I think some of you are really going home. You have your drivers already waiting for you, or your mom is there outside.
For those with specific questions to ask after the end of our talk this afternoon, we can stay behind. Maybe we can have 2 or 3 questions to be addressed to Mr. Dennis and Hans or to any member of the camera.
So before anybody else goes, we would like to thank you for coming, and we thank you also for having us here, for giving us a chance to talk, give you a talk and teach you about the photography. I would like to introduce most of the members here of the photography club, the camera club of Negros. Of course, you know Hans Oral, we have Dennis Reyes, who just gave you the talk also. We have Toto Tarosa. We have our president, Nicky Ledesma. We have Drix Davilos, Pons Sares. We have Dr. Tony Vasquez. And last but not the least, Leonardo, Carlo Leonardo.
Carlo.
So thank you very much. So, but if you still have some questions regarding anything about taking pictures of or the Photoshop, please feel free to ask.
Brown. What kind of brown? So actually, no it's like the wet. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to say something on behalf of the photography.
On behalf of the photography club members and the high school administration, we would like to thank the Camera Club of Negros for sharing us their knowledge about photography.
Thank you, students, for coming. Specific inquiries about Photoshop can stay behind. Should still be available.
And if you have to go, and if you have any questions, just email us. CC Negros. You can send us also your photos there, for if you wanted to have some critical photos. Just send us the photos para we can look at it, pull some critics and send it back to you.
I'm so that's my boyfriend. She laughed at
We have to go to your artistic.
Tama, sa baba sa building, para makakita ng tulungan. Hindi ka rin.